car. I want y'all to see this. I've been told that they have to turn all the lights on for safety, officer safety. And you'll see he don't have his front lights on at all. No front lights. And the rear, he has the rear lights on. Can I get your name, your badge number?
Did I do something wrong?
Isn't it your policy to identify yourself when you talk to someone?
No, sir.
So you're saying that Jeff Lewis, the chief of police, would tell me that your policy does not require that you identify yourself when you speak to someone, right?
Didn't I identify myself when I said, hey, I'm Officer Dan?
No, sir. You said, how you doing, buddy? You didn't identify yourself at all.
I do it so much sometimes I forget. Is that my fault? Can I say apologize for that?
I mean, if that's what you want to do. I mean, it's for First Amendment protected activity.
What?
It's a First Amendment protected activity.
What does that mean? I don't think that's in there. But you
Really? Can you cite the First Amendment to me then?
No, but it
Okay,
doesn't sound like
in the
that.
First Amendment it says free press. Do you know what free press is?
Can you recite it verbatimly, the entire thing?
It says you have the right to free speech, the right to free press, you have the right to argue with your government. So free press, this is called free press.
Okay. I just was asking, man. Like I said, you creep my people out up here, which makes you a disturbance that kind of I have to ask you what you're doing and why you're doing it.
Well, there is no expectation of privacy in public, and they're on a public road. And I wasn't filming them, I was filming you.
They were in my film, and you didn't ask them if they wanted to be filmed. It's not
You had no expectations in public of privacy. So when you're in public, you can't be private, sir.
there's no point in talking. He just wants to get around.
See, you're not listening. You just keep on going by your training and all your little blue striped friends. You're not listening.
Can you get all the good angles of my car at least? So when you post it
Well, my
online-
problem with your car is when somebody has a medical condition and you pull them over and they ask you to turn your front lights off because their front lights could cause them to have a seizure, and your officers say, hold on, I'm speaking to him. Can I finish saying what I gotta say first? And your officers say it's for officer safety, but you don't have your front lights on, you have your back lights off on. So that would be officer doing what? Telling me that it's not true?
So you're trying to justify what I did for another officer because...
I have a video camera, and I'm sitting here videotaping anything I can.
Okay, so you
But yours can get lost. Yours can get lost, and then we can't get a hold of them.
Well, good. I mean, I can't really... I don't have any effect over that. I don't touch any of
But back to the basis, it doesn't matter if your people that you pulled over are worried, because there is no expectation of privacy out in the public.
So you're gonna ask me a question, then not let me answer it? Is that how this works?
Answer the
Because
question.
if not- okay. So your question about my front lights being on and not being on, I'm a traffic officer. This is what I do, okay? My lights have no effect on anybody across the street, okay? So all they need to see is the front of my bumper, and it says a police car. Everybody behind me has to get over. Does that make sense to you?
It does to a point. I understand what you're saying. But like I said, if a person has a medical condition, for an example, my wife has vertigo. Do you know what vertigo is?
Yeah, it's when you got fluid in your
No, sir, it's not. You're wrong. Vertigo is when you have MS, it's a condition in your brain that if you see strobe lights like your blue lights there, it can cause her to have a seizure.
So what
A
should I do?
DTF officer in Dickson had made her have a seizure right here twice daily. So my point is, I wanted to film your car without the front lights on and the back lights off, front lights off and the back lights on. So when another officer said it's their safety, I can call them a liar because it's not your safety.
Well, let me explain this, okay? I don't work directly with the DTF. I don't know how they work, okay? I would never ask to go over. I work traffic, okay? Like I explained to you earlier. These blue lights are for these people, okay? I don't know what your situation is. I can't speak on your situation because if I was in a parking lot, I would have all my lights on because anything can come in anywhere. And if I need somebody to come to me, such as this fella right here, my blue lights is what he recognizes me by, right? So
I would
why turn them
suppose.
off?
I don't know what he would recognize me.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. If you was to pull me over and I said, sir, my wife has vertigo, if your lights causes her to have a seizure, will you turn your front lights off? What would your response be?
It depends on where we are.
It doesn't matter where we are, whether
does.
I'm in the parking lot, on the side of the road.
It does matter. Because
No,
you
it
have to
really.
be visible.
If you,
Because if-
but your back lights are for safety, sir, not your front lights, because
Your front
nobody
lights
in the
are for
front of you, if you have them pulled over, is going to hit
So
you from
we're
the front.
in the middle of row 9 in the middle of Walmart, right? And I've got you pulled over and nobody sees it. And all they see is a car and they go to back out and they hit my car because I have all my headlights on because of your wife and her.
I didn't.
her disease.
You didn't comprehend that. You pull me over in the parking lot. You turn all your blue lights on. You have your headlights on. And I said, sir, my wife has a medical condition. Will you please turn your front blue lights off? And your response will be,
My response would be, well, it just depends on the situation. Like I said, it
and I'm
depends on what
trying
I'm
to
stopping
explain
you
the
for.
situation, but you're not wanting to answer the question to the situation.
I really can't answer, man. Like, it depends on what I'm stopping you for.
Just like my wife was stopped down here by a Tennessee State Trooper, and she said, sir, I have vertigo. Will you please turn your front lights off so your lights won't cause me to have a seizure? And he said, no, it's for officer safety. But it wasn't no safety with him being in the front of the car, it was behind the car.
like I told you, man, I don't work directly. When you get involved with these people, man, I can have maybe a small amount of say-so. THP works on their own network. They do their own thing.
But it's not just THP, it's anybody with a badge. Because I'm trying to ask you, if we were sitting
Anybody
here...
with a badge don't have the same guidelines. Because if you go into the county, they've got different policies and regulations that they have
That's funny, because the county's the only one to turn them off for us.
I've never pulled you and your wife over, so you...
But I asked you standing right here, to your face, in front of one of your partners.
It depends on what I'm
If we're sitting here, and I ask you, sir, your front blue lights is going to cause my wife to have a seizure. Will you turn them off so she won't have a seizure? And you said you could not answer that because you don't know.
I cannot speak for anybody else, but for myself, it depends on what I'm pulling you over for, okay? And that's what I'm sticking with. Because if I need somebody to get to me that's coming from the front end, that needs to know where I am, they need to see my...
At night, them lights shine. Trust me, I've been pulled over. I've been pulled over for 20 years. Them lights light up the whole road. That's why we have tinted windows.
You're telling me that if my lights are shining this way, you can see them from the other side of the car?
Yes, sir. So you're calling me a liar, right?
No, I'm not calling you a liar.
This officer turn his lights off when you're down there?
If I'm driving, now listen to this. If I'm driving by and going the other way, and my wife's in the car, I'm not going to stop him and say, officer, I'm driving by. Can you turn your lights off? My point by the whole thing is, and he's not really comprehending is if he pulls me over and walks up and said, I'm Officer Daniels, is right? What you said?
Daniel, sir.
Daniel. I'm Officer Daniel with the City Police Department. I'm going to look at him and say, sir, my wife has a medical condition. Can you please turn your front lights off so she won't have a seizure? And he said his response will be he don't know, because he don't know what the situation is. So if my wife goes into a seizure because your blue lights, then what?
We're going to call him.
Well, what if there's a safety situation where you're a possible wanted subject that has aggravatedly assaulted his wife and has a gun in the car, and I need backup en route to me because I'm the only one? What, am I just supposed to cut my lights off? Because
Well, I don't think anybody that is wanted or in the situation you just said, because I can't remember everything you just said, threatening my wife, I don't think I'm going to have you come to the car and politely ask you to turn your blue lights off so my wife wouldn't have a seizure. Now, honestly, sensibly, common sense, think about that.
Yeah.
Do you realize some of the nicest people you would ever shake hands with and say, oh man, my window won't roll down, and next thing you know, I go to turn my back and get shot? That's happened before. That's happened in this county.
Yes, sir, it happened right down here.
Okay, so what's your point saying? Like, just because you're nice and just because you ask something doesn't mean
But
it
you're
has to be done.
profiling
No, sir.
by saying that if you come up to the window, I could be doing anything.
No,
if I roll my window down, I said, sir, my wife is going to have a seizure with your lights. Can you turn your lights off?
Well, with that being said, people are honking out here. People almost get hit.
Well, that's not your problem. That's because that one couldn't drive. That one read the light. That's not even green. He didn't even have the green light. I was sitting here watching him. That's why he honked. But you come up to me saying I was bothering them people.
You were.
But their privacy in public, they have no expectation of privacy in public. None. Period. That's the constitutional law. When you walked up to me, I did not have to speak to you. I'm videotaping. That's because I can. No, not really. I've done been at work today, so I'm off.
Anything to do with this wreck that he was involved in?
No, sir. I walked up and started videotaping.
You want to play with you up to South Main Street? You want to talk to us?
Oh, I know Chief of Police very well. He's known me for many years. Why don't you ask him who Pork Chop is? He'll tell you who Pork Chop is. Yeah, I'm Pork Chop.
You want to shake hands?
If you think that us standing here talking requires, I'll give you a fist bump. I don't really like shake hands. It's a paranoia thing. It's nothing against anybody by shaking hands.
Okay. Well, you're Pork Chop. Man, you're awesome. I always hear great
But
things
see,
about you.
go ahead, ask a question.
Your question that you asked him. You asked any other officer that works in the city of Dickson, they're going to tell you it's going to be situational. I mean, anything we do is going to be a case-by-case scenario.
I understand that situation, but I blew out the simplest situation to him. Simple. You're saying it doesn't matter, but it does.
It doesn't matter if you lay it out word by word, plan by plan, wherever the hell we're at. It's not going to matter unless we are in that situation.
Well, in a sense it does.
Like, I'm not saying
because
I'm not saying
you're
you're asking a dumb question.
you're bringing a
I'm
whole
saying-
profile, a whole notebook of
I'm not
situations.
profiling nobody. I'm not saying that
A whole book of situations
Can
is
I
what I'm
ask you a
saying.
question? How long ago did this happen?
Which one? Which scenario?
Where your
The
wife had a
DTF?
kid? Yeah.
About 2 years ago. And you
How
know
long
what
did that
DTF's?
happen ago? How
About a
long
year
did-
ago.
Okay, so my thing is, and this is what I'm saying. THP, their supervisors is the governor, right? So you need to contact the governor, the task force. You know who's in front of
Yeah, my wife talked to Darren Adams. You know what Darren Adams? He called her a liar to her face, even though she had
I
proof
don't
on
think
video.
I don't really know what they're. All I know is Brian Beasley is the director.
Brian Beasley, then it goes Craig Myers, and then it's Darren Adams.
You need to talk to them.
We
Because
have,
I
and they
can't-
laughed at my wife.
But it's been 2 years ago. Is she okay now? What is she all right?
No, she still has vertigos.
Okay.
And if she...
I can't help that. Nobody. Is there a cutie vertigo?
No, there's
Okay.
not.
So my thing is, you're mad at those two departments, right?
No, sir, I'm not
Or
mad.
you're trying to figure
I
out.
come
you're
up
trying to figure
here
out
to
what-
videotape the traffic stop. To videotape you, not the people you had put over.
Because my thing is, they were like, well,
You-
I had to ask, do y'all know this fella? Because you had seen before prior, I had a guy pull up. Didn't know who he was. I had him move in front
I
of my
understand
car
that.
because, hey, nobody behind can see because his truck's bigger than my rear end.
I understand that.
You see that whole light thing comes in the scenario?
From the
All
back
these
side. From your back side.
people- Yep. But I can't speak for those people. I don't need lights for those people coming from.
But like
my
I said
thing
again,
is-
if you
my
pull
thing
me
is-
over and my wife's in the car and I say, sir, will you turn your front blue lights off? Because it could make my wife have a seizure. Again, your answer was, you don't know the situation. I'm saying, so you couldn't tell me whether yes or no. You can't say that.
Well, I'll explain a little bit further. The task force, they're pulling you over. It normally got something to do with drugs. And they're probably working by themselves and they need other people to get to it.
I've been pulled over twice by drug task force. Do you know what for? 10th. So they ain't out here. I'm always gonna laugh at that and say they're not out here getting drugs. They're out here bullshitting with these people. Now the ones on the side of the interstate, they may get into drugs, but you can't get drugs on this side of the interstate. That's done been on the news. They've done been in trouble for that. They're not policing on the drug side. They're policing on the money side where they get all the money. Because I've been told by drug task force themselves, they don't make money like you do. You get a regular paycheck. All their money comes from them busting drugs right out here and at these hotels. And I videotape them all the time. You're a public servant, are you not?
I'd love to say I am.
And I'm not standing here trying to make your job harder. But 8 out of 10 police officers are bad apples. They 8 out of 10 officers are bad apples, and they cause good officers to look bad. Because you come up and you talk to me politely, had no problem, even though our conversation about the situation a little different. But I guarantee there's 4 more officers come behind you and try to handcuff me, ask me for my ID, ask me where I live, and that's none of their business. Now you're right, you can ask me, but by my constitutional given rights when I was born, I don't have to answer you.
With that being said, there's these things called TCA, which are the laws in Tennessee. You are disturbing the peace because those peaceful people are like, what the heck's going on? Suspicious person.
Okay, what is the definition to disturbing the peace in the TCA law?
You want me to go get it?
Yes, sir. Let me tell you why before you go get it. Because I've been threatened with that same thing, and I was sitting here not saying nothing. You cannot disturb the peace when you're not saying nothing. My son flipped off a cop. You know, he got threatened with his disorderly conduct. No, sir, it's not. It's called sign language.
What reasonable person would do that? Can you articulate what reasonable person would go up to the cops and be like, you can't. It's just not.
Anybody that lives in the United States that is a U.S. citizen, it's their constitutional First Amendment right for free speech. Yes, sir, that's called sign language.
But you can articulate that a reasonable person, not under any type of influence, would never do that. Maybe do it behind.
Why not? They do it all the time. Y'all really need to start watching YouTube. YouTube. Seriously. You need to watch.
You don't have to post the truth on the internet. That's kind of why it's gotten outrageous.
You don't have to post what on the internet?
Truth on the internet.
Why? Because that's the problem we have these days. I had a state trooper pull me over. He went to court and told the judge I passed him 6 times. I passed him once. One time. They go to court and they lie all the time.
Not me. Not him.
Well, I haven't been in court with y'all.
Well, we're not going to.
But that's why we do this. That's why there's millions of people that do this every day.
Mr. Porkchop, if you don't mind me calling you that.
No,
I
go
had
ahead.
a great time talking to you. Everybody else has these great, hilarious stories. I didn't really get one. I'm kind of sad, but it's nice to meet you, man.
But like I said, I come up here to videotape you, not them, and they have no expectations of privacy in public.
You kind of creeped them out. I'm not saying I can't tell how they felt, but they were like, I don't know who he is. I'm kind of worried about him, and I'm kind of like, well, you know, it is 2019. Got to worry about myself.
I mean, the problem with that is if it was a bad wreck, the news people would be up here and try to zoom. Yeah, it would. They do it all the time on the interstate.
I worked a pretty bad wreck the other day where a girl broke her arm. That's pretty bad, and no news channel showed up.
Okay, when the news people do show up for that bad, and they do film people, they don't get mad at them.
Trust me, they do. I can tell you.
Well, I've not ever heard anybody say, well, the news is here, why is the news here filming us? I wasn't, if they had to ask, I'd have told them, I wasn't filming you, ma'am. I was filming the police officer.
Yeah, that's kind of why I waited for them to get out to traffic, because if anything was to happen, I could be like, hey, they're not here for their safety, right?
That is true.
Well, I feel like you're an awesome person. You got a lot to tell. I think your junction, your go about is a little bit wrong, but
see, that's your opinion, is it not?
Yep, that's my opinion.
Because like I said, on the First Amendment, you have the freedom of speech.
Yeah.
And you have the freedom of free press. This is, read it. Seriously, read it.
I kind of get all that taken away when I signed up to do this job.
And that's the problem. That's a lot of problem. Because here's the problem. Y'all have a limited amount of immunity.
A limited amount of immunity?
Yeah, you could shoot somebody and 90% to get away with it.
No, don't work that way.
Is it not?
You got to articulate. That's the thing. You have to be able to articulate.
Articulate an officer shooting a man. So the officer that shot the black man that was sitting on the side of the sidewalk taking care of his handicapped patient that was a juvenile, what reasonable articulate suspicion did that officer have?
We can't speak on other officers.
Do you know what he told? You know what he said it was? He feared for the man's life. So he shot the man he feared for because a juvenile handicapped boy was sitting beside him. But see, that's what accountability.
That's so radical, man. When did that happen?
Last year, just like the black man that got shot in his car. When the officer come up, he told the officer, "I'm armed." What did the officer say? "I need your driver's license, your insurance, and your registration." He reached in his back pocket to get his license and was shot.
Well, in my opinion, you should never tell the cops that you're armed. Why? Because what? That puts stuff up here where we have to think, and then we have to work in that small gap of how fast can you pull a gun out? How fast can you work? That's just my opinion. Don't tell me. Unless I know, the less we got to worry about, right?
With that being said, do you know what the #1 rule is when you go get a gun permit?
No, it's not.
It is,
not a rule.
sir.
Not a rule.
Yes,
Look
sir.
it up.
Yes.
Look it up.
No, look, seriously, you need to look at. You are supposed to tell law enforcement you are armed. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Billy Moran showed me the thing that he's got where they give classes, and that's one of the rules.
Billy Moran and tell him to come down to Dickson Police Department and show me that TCA, that state ordinance, that city ordinance where it says you have to tell.
It's not a TCA. It's in the rule book when you go do your permit.
You realize the state takes care of that, right?
The state takes what?
The gun permits, right? And the rules.
They take care of the gun permit, and you have to take a test.
Well, I'm gonna go look some stuff up. Now, if I find you on the side of the interstate, I want you to pull that black iPhone out. That black iPhone out.
Well, it might have a different case at the time. I don't know. My case is getting old.
That's waterproof, right?
It's supposed to be. No, my little thing over here on my button come off, so it's not waterproof no more.
Okay, you're gonna have to fix that.
Yeah.
But like I said, man, if I'm gonna look this up. If I see you on the interstate, bro, I'm gonna have to tell you. Because I know for a fact it's not like that. There's no law in America, there's no law in the land that says you have to tell me you have a gun. Now, if I stop, halt, frisk you, say, hey, do you have a weapon on you? That's when you have to.
So you're saying if you pull an individual up, he don't have to tell you he's armed?
No, sir. No, sir.
Well, then half the officers I've dealt with have lied to me. And 90% of them, I've been in Dickson. Now, hold on. I've been in Dickson all my life.
Yep.
So I've only had to deal with Dickson cops.
Yep. And
They say if you get a gun permit, when the officer comes up to you, you're supposed to let him know you're armed, and you're supposed to show him your gun permit with your driver's license.
that's called miscommunication. They feel like it makes themselves feel better, but ultimately, this is just my opinion. Why tell me something like that? So then if something goes astray or there's some miscommunication, we're both put in a situation to where, oh shit, it hits the fan, and what are we supposed to do?
I feel like
home every day.
it would be
I'm
on.
supposed to go home every day.
I'm
You're supposed to go home
right.
every day.
I would feel safer if I was carrying legally to let you know that I was armed. So if you had to frisk me,
Like I said, you tell me that, I'm like, yes sir, okay. Right? Where's it at? I'm gonna ask you the next question.
Right.
Where's it located at, okay? And then if it's located in the same area as your wallet, honestly, I don't know where we go for. It just depends on the situation. If it's just a normal routine traffic stop, I'm gonna say, well, don't worry about it. Just keep your hands on the steering wheel, give me your social, such as one right here. And then I'm going to go back to my car, and I'm asking you to reach over, maybe get your insurance and all that good stuff. We're going to go on about our business.
okay, but that's you. But you can't speak for all these other officers, can you not?
That's just, hey, like I said, that's my opinion. Because ultimately, when I put something in my head, there's something called human error.
I agree. Why put the fear in your head when it don't need to be there? Because you don't know what I'm going to do with the gun. I understand
And
that.
honestly, if you were ever going to do anything with it, I wouldn't get a chance. It's a slim pickings that I'm going to have a chance to react to be able to defend myself.
That is very true.
So, with that being said, you have my opinion, mine versus all those other cops. You pick the one you want to do, all right?
But I did come out here to start no argument,
I
to
don't
get
think
anything.
you did.
I really did.
I'm talking to you. I just think you came to pick a bone with the task force at THP. But ultimately, like I said, I don't work for them. You may want to talk to their directors and all their people, and you may need to talk to the state about how they do their
Well,
stuff.
as long as it's legal, I'm gonna be doing this from now on, and it's accountability, because something may happen where y'all need me.
Hey, I'd hope a citizen would help me out if I ever needed me. You know?
I mean, this gentleman right here was seen me filming the other day down there by Domino's. This same gentleman right here,
Okay.
and all I was doing was standing there. It's just accountability. This is happening all over the United States.
Well, I hate to say it's not happening here. I hate to say it. You're one person. You can't be everywhere.
Well, I understand that.
I'm going to tell you, these guys hold themselves accountable.
I hope that they do.
Anything helping like that. That's
Well, I
the
can
world.
tell.
This is small town Dickson.
Well, I can tell you the county
gotta
don't
tell-
hold themselves responsible.
I'm not going to speak on this. I'm going to speak on the city of Dickson. We hold ourselves accountable. He's got my back, and if I do something wrong, he's going to
Well,
put me in your
you
door.
do have an officer, Curtis Ferguson. He don't hold himself responsible. Curtis Ferguson.
No, sir. We do not have a Curtis Ferguson.
Yes, sir. He's a black officer. Yes, sir.
Nope. not
He's
a
right up
Curtis
behind.
Ferguson.
Okay, who's the one?
His name-
Robertson.
Yes,
Okay,
there you
sorry,
go.
Robertson. But he tried to start some shit where I live on private property. Told me I couldn't drink alcohol. Told me I was on public property.
I don't know about that, man. Like I said,
Well, but
I've
you-
been here 2 years, and ever since I've been here, I know that there's people that hold each other accountable.
And that's
And the
good.
shifts that I've been on, we hold everybody accountable, and everybody does their job. There are no free paychecks. There are no just get-alongs to get along.
And I hope that keeps going on.
And like I said, I give you my word. I'm going to hold my people accountable because I know they're going to hold me accountable. At the end of the day, man, you keep doing what you're doing, we're going to keep doing what we're doing.
With you saying that, let me ask you a question. If this officer right here come over here and we get into an argument and we start tussling, you're going to have his back, right?
Yeah.
Do you know there's a law in the United States that if I feel it's an unjust, unlawful arrest, I can defend myself by any means necessary. Now you can look that up. I've done looked it up several dozen times.
In Tennessee, not in the state.
In the United States, period. An unlawful arrest can be justified and be by a citizen.
But you know the best way to stop that is communication.
But there's hardly any with them. You're the only one I've been able. I just met you. You just come up. You're the only one I can talk to besides Officer Mullins that I can talk to you like this.
Well, we're in a good group, me and him, aren't we?
Go on.
You can talk to any of them, man. My thing is you just got to be polite. And
Well,
like I said,
you haven't had the conversations I've had with you.
9 times out of 10, I'll speak to this group. Everybody on
Y'all
my
ain't
shift,
brothers, are you? I noticed the last name's the same.
we're cousins. We're not. We're no kin, no
9 times
relation.
out of 10, everybody on my shift, you're nice to us, and we're nice to you. It's return.
Okay, I get that.
You work with me, I work with you. You're nice to me, I'm nice to you.
But there are situations where we have rights, like we don't have. You can ask for my name, but if
Well,
I'm walking
there's
down,
something
unless
called
I'm committing a
failure to identify.
crime, I don't have by law.
This is the way that works. Say you're walking up the street and you match the person we're looking for. And whether you say you don't or whether you say you do, the best thing you can do in that situation is to identify yourself, okay? Because ultimately, if you identify yourself and they go, okay, come back to this car with me, this isn't the guy, all right, you come back today. No skin off your back, right?
In a sense, I see that.
if
But the
you go,
Constitution
that's
says, the Fifth Amendment, and then you have Miranda rights. You're supposed to say,
not-
and we
only if you
have.
ask them about the crime.
We have the right to remain silent. We don't have to answer any questions. Period. Now, when you get pulled over,
Ask about the crime, you have to realize that. If I ask you, say you stole that iPhone, I was like, where'd you get that iPhone? Well, I don't have to answer that. You see what I'm saying?
I don't.
But and if I say, well, they seen you at Walmart, they seen you walk up to that iPhone, that's when I have to ask you Miranda, okay?
Okay, that's a third-party conversation because a third party's telling you they seen something that may not even be true. Now, at that moment, you can detain me because I would refuse to give you my ID. You can detain me
And arrest me.
and take me and book me and find out I'm not the person. Then you have to. I'm free to
Let
go.
you Yeah, but like I told you, if you just go, well, here's my ID, my name's Pork Chop, I just been walking this road, I ain't been to that gas station, I ain't been near no iPhones, I'm having a great day. This must be miscommunication. They get the identity. Oh, it's the wrong person.
If a lot of officers would be more like that, that would be different.
I try to be every day, man. I ultimately do.
But do you see what I'm saying? If a lot of officers was different like that, it would be different.
Well, can I tell you this? There's no brand or there's no certain mold that every officer's going to fit. Everybody's got to bring their own different piece to the pie, okay?
Right, but the problem is
everybody's got to bring their piece or that pie ain't ever be whole. And
that is true, but a lot of problems is when a lot of officers get that badge on that chest and that gun on that hip, they lose that. They really lose that.
Well, I hope moving forward today, after this conversation, that your outlook on life and outlook on police officers change, because mine, like I said, I'm going to hold mine accountable and they're going to hold me accountable.
Well, if the other two, I seem to have no problem, and maybe the next encounter will be the same way. But I will tell you, I'm going to film. My son caught you filming, was filming you over Subway.
Was I somewhere today?
Yep, no, not today. It's been a couple weeks. We was in Waffle House parking lot. He got out and was sitting there filming. You waved at him.
Oh, did I? Dang. I was talking to my friend. I remember that.
Well, you had some white woman pulled over.
Oh, yeah.
But we feel like a lot of officers does not hold themselves accountable, and their bosses don't hold themselves accountable.
Well, I can tell you, Jerry Summerhour holds my ass accountable like every day.
And that's